Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and a lot of y'all are probably clicking in this video because you're going, Mitch, are you telling me Mike Vrabel is going to be interviewing for the Raiders head coaching job? We're going to talk about that in just a moment, but we also got some juicy rumors around Aidan O'Connell, and I'm going to tell you at the end of today's show, am I going to root for the Raiders to beat the Chargers? All of that is going to be coming up, but you know what? I'm filming this show, and it's kind of crazy. I'm live right now, and it's the final live show of 2024. I can't wait for this season to be over. I can't wait for this year to be over. But if you're a Raiders fan and you're going to look for Raiders videos on YouTube every single day for free, click that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and I'm going to ask a big favor here. If there's anybody that watches the show loyally, if you could go down in the comments section and give us a review, maybe give somebody that's new to the show why that they should subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it because I want more people here to join the Raiders Report family. So let's first talk about this rumor here. Raiders will interview Mike Vrabel. Guess what? This one's for just win, babies. Believe it, baby. The Raiders are 100% going to interview Mike Vrabel, but it just can't happen right now. And I was getting asked a lot over the past 24 hours, Mitch, hey, I see Mike Vrabel can be interviewed. Are the Raiders going to interview him? They can't interview him now because the Raiders are still in season and because Antonio Pierce is still the head coach. But as soon as this season ends and as soon as the Raiders decide to move on from AP, they are going to interview Mike Vrabel. So for those that do not know, he had a consulting agreement with the Cleveland Browns. That job ended for him on December 30th. So when he was fired from the Tennessee Titans head coaching job, took a job with the Cleveland Browns, worked with one of his buddies, and he worked there for this entire year, but his consulting contract, ended on December 30th. So he is technically free to interview with any NFL team that has an open head coaching position. Not every NFL team out there has an open head coaching position. So I saw that there was a lot of confusion out there on the internet, but I did want to sit up here and tell you, like, the Raiders are going to interview him. And when you think about how much has changed over the past month of me telling you that Antonio Pierce has a chance to come back, to Antonio Pierce has a 50% chance to coming back, to Antonio Pierce has a 10% chance to coming back, to telling you all now, if Mike Vrabel wants the job, it's 100% his. I would put it now, there's a 5% chance that Antonio Pierce is coming back next season. Now, I'll also say this. Vrabel can interview with these three teams. And if the New York Jets, the New Orleans Saints, or if the Chicago Bears wanted to get a head start on the interview process, which, not going to lie, if the Jets, Saints, or Bears were legitimately serious about going out and hiring Vrabel, they should try to actually get him in for an interview because if you know the connections, the reports, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, there's so much smoke right now around Vrabel coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't care who you look at. I don't care who you listen to. I don't care who you trust in terms of beat reporters. I don't care who you trust in terms of NFL insiders. Everybody is saying this. The front runner to be the next Raiders head coach is Mike Vrabel. So if you're a team like the Jets, like the Saints, like the Bears, you should try to get a head start on the Jags, on the Giants, and definitely you should try to get a head start on the Las Vegas Raiders if you are legitimately interested in hiring Vrabel to be your next head coach. But when you look at the latest reports, the teams that are apparently interested on the former 2021 Coach of the Year are the 6 teams that are pictured up here on screen. But this show's about the silver and black. And my question to the entire nation out there, and it's going to be the pinned comment on today's show, is give me a yes, give me a no. Do you want Mike Vrabel to be the Raiders head coach next season? My answer, after this YouTube ad break. I do want Mike Vrabel to be the Raiders' next head coach because he's the best head coach candidate that you can get for 2025. Because the Raiders won a few meaningless games, and I'm done kind of arguing about this. I know players want to win. I know coaches want to win. And I'm not going to blame for the players or coaches for going out there and winning games. However, though, you're not going to get a Ben Johnson to come in here anymore. The number one head coach candidate and the most realistic candidate for the silver and black in 2025 is Mike Vrabel. And if you're like, I don't want Mike Vrabel, then you're okay with Antonio Pierce. To me, because of the Raiders winning those final 2 games, it is either a Mike Vrabel or it is Antonio Pierce. If you don't like those 2 options, then you should go with Mike Vrabel. And when I saw an interesting quote from Jeremy Fowler, and I wanted to be able to present it to you all today because I do think that people need to realize, and I think people got to be excited about the potential of getting Mike Vrabel, because I think Vrabel is actually a really good pairing with this Raiders team, because this Raiders team needs a lot of help to be able to build in a lot of different ways. So according to Fowler, Browns were very impressed with Vrabel during his Cleveland tenure. He has helped a lot during a difficult season, and is one person that they're noted he can skillfully coach every position on the field. One of the things that Mike Vrabel has been noted at from his times back in New England, back at his time with Tennessee, and as you can see it here with Cleveland, he's one of those dudes that he can talk to corners, linebackers, defensive ends, offensive line, tight end, wide receiver. Because he's played and because he's had so much success, he's one of those coaches that he can. When he enters a room, every single player listens to him. And when you're a team that, is a lot further away than just finding the quarterback, like, we got to replace a lot of pieces on defense. We got to replace a lot of pieces on offense. We got to be able to build some continuity with this team, because when you change head coaches all the time, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different things. So forgive me for wanting a head coach that has been able to show you in the NFL and has been spoke of very highly of being able to do all those things of, guess what? I want Mike Vrabel to be the Raiders' next head coach. He was coach of the year in 2021. Like, imagine if Mike Vrabel was a quarterback in the NFL. Like, that's what I'm going to say to a lot of Raider fans out there. Imagine if the MVP at the quarterback position was available to you for the Raiders this offseason. You would take it in a heartbeat. And I know that there's not a lot of stats there. And I know a 3-time Super Bowl champ. And I know his relationship with Tom Brady, the head coaching record. But I think that there's also a discussion that needs to be had of, if I sat up here right now and I looked at you in the eyes, and every single one of y'all in the eyes, and I said, would you add a quarterback that's better than Aidan O'Connell, your current starter, would you do it? You all would say yes. So why wouldn't you add a head coach in Mike Vrabel that's going to do a better job than what Antonio Pierce did at head coach? Was AP given a shorthand? Yeah. But I think a guy like Mike Vrabel would play the hand Antonio Pierce was dealt a lot better, because you go back and you look at some of those Titans teams, I think they had a lot less talent than what the Raiders had this freaking season. Coming up here, some interesting statements made about Aidan O'Connell that, quite frankly, I got to talk about here. Before I get into it, though, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Easy, exciting, daily fantasy sports made easy. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Join now, because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even need to win to receive a $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. If you're also like, you know what, Mitch? I want to kind of go more or less on some college football games. College football time is right now. And when I think about how excited I am to be able to talk about college football, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch every single one of these games. If you're sitting there going, Mitch, I am going to watch every single one of the games that are up on screen right now, put down $5. You got a chance to win some money at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Out of all the games up on screen, the game that I personally think is the most intriguing, the most exciting, is Oregon against Ohio State. To me, that's going to be the game that gets the most national coverage. But in terms of the game that I have money on, that I'm the most confident in, it's actually the Boise State-Penn State game. For more on Ashton Jeanty, I got more on Ashton Jeanty for 129 rushing yards. That, to me, is a really, really, really smart thing to do. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. And a huge, huge shout out to them yet again for being the sponsor here on the Raiders Report. Let's go to the next rumor here on today's show. Aidan O'Connell is going to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Yeah, 4 just win, babies. Believe it, baby. But, he's already a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Like, you can't say that he's going to be a starting caliber NFL QB. He is already starting in the NFL. And if you haven't seen the quote, Antonio Pierce on Monday said, I think Aidan O'Connell will be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He is already in a 2-year career, and it's been a short career, has started 16 games. We're about to get his 17th game started, and to me, that's a very good sample size to look at of what you could potentially be looking at from Aidan. Has he gotten better? Yeah, he absolutely has gotten better. But in terms of, is Aidan an actual starting quarterback in the NFL? That remains to be seen, because AP to me is obviously talking about the future when it comes to AOC, right? Like, Antonio Pierce's comments were Aidan O'Connell is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And to me, I would say a starting QB in my mind is the guy that starts week 1, right? Like, the guy that starts week 1 for your NFL team, that's what I would say a starting caliber NFL quarterback is. But also at the same time, I've been somebody that's sat up here before and I've gone, I don't know if Aidan's the top 32 QB in the league. I think right now, based on some of the quarterback play that I've seen and based on Aidan getting better, I actually think that he's a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. But AOC, he isn't the Raiders starter. I'm not sure where he is going to start. Like, tell me right now an NFL team. You know, everybody watching this live, everybody on a later date, what NFL team goes, I want to trade for Aidan O'Connell to be my starting quarterback? I don't think there's a single NFL team that does that. And if I'm looking at Aidan and if I'm looking at him being a starter, I'm going to say this. I think 2025 might be the only season for the rest of his career, unless a starter gets hurt, unless a rookie gets injured, unless an injury happens, nobody's going to walk into week 1 of the NFL year and go, Aidan O'Connell is our starter. So I think he might get his only chance in 2025 if the Raiders are unable to land a QB. But this show's about interaction, and I want to know what you guys have to say. So type S for starter, type B for backup. Is Aidan O'Connell a starting quarterback in the National Football League? My answer might surprise you after this YouTube ad break. I do think that Aidan O'Connell is a starting quarterback in the National Football League because I do think that he's a top 32 quarterback. However, though, if you're a head coach and you're Antonio Pierce and you go, I think that he's a starter in the NFL, and if you're a head coach and you're going to roll into your season with AOC your starter, I'm saying you're hoping for that year to be 7 to 8 wins. AOC can be a starter in a bridge year. Like, are you going to risk your entire job on Aidan? If you do, I just don't think that you're a very smart man in terms of what you're betting your life, livelihood, betting your job on. Can O'Connell get more starts? Yes. Is he going to get more starts in the NFL? Yes, he's going to start a lot more games. Like, I would say right now, he's going to have 17 starts by the end of the season. I would put the more or less number on Aidan's starts for his career at 30 starts. Like, he's going to run into starts. If a quarterback like Brian Hoyer can get starts late in his career, why can't a guy like Aidan O'Connell? And O'Connell's going to have a career like Brian Hoyer. He's going to make $50+ million in this league, being a very good backup for 12 to 15 years because he's got it up here and he can execute a system. However, though, AP calling Aidan O'Connell a starter, I'm not going to lie, it kind of makes me laugh a little bit because when I hear Antonio Pierce stepped up to that podium and he goes, I think Aidan O'Connell is a starting quarterback in the NFL. I chuckle a little bit because I'm like, well, one, that just tells me that you're not ready to be a head coach in the NFL. But also on top of that, I'm like, you know, Pierce didn't want Aidan at all. And he tried everything in his power to trade it for Jaden Daniels, which was the smart thing to do. Jaden Daniels on this Raiders team with Cliff Kingsbury, I think we're in the playoffs. Like, I'm not kidding you when I say that. I think the Raiders are in the playoffs. I think they're better than the Denver Broncos. I think they're better than the Los Angeles Chargers. If Jaden Daniels is the quarterback, which maybe half the reason is why I want the Raiders to go out and get a franchise quarterback. But Pierce didn't want AOC. He took Jaden. And then AP and Luke Getsy took Gardner Minshew over Aidan O'Connell to be the starter, which I thought was going to be a smart move. Ends up not a smart move. Aidan right now is better than Gardner Minshew. I'll also say, and I've been saying this, I would love to see what Gardner Minshew with Scott Turner would look like for the longevity like Aidan O'Connell's kind of had Scott Turner. Like, we're comparing Aidan with Scott Turner and Gardner Minshew and Luke Getsy. I don't think that that's a fair comparison because I will say entering the year, Gardner Minshew has been better throughout his entire career than what Aidan O'Connell has been up to this point. That's a fair statement. But then the final reason here of why, I'm sorry, the AP comments on Aidan O'Connell make me chuckle a little bit. It's because Pierce just a few weeks ago said quarterback play, bottom line, quarterback play is the reason why the Raiders are ranked dead last in the AFC West. And when I hear Antonio Pierce call Aidan O'Connell a starting quarterback, it just makes me think that he's a bad head coach. And the reason why that I say that is because you as a head coach had the opportunity to make him the starter for the full year. But you and Tom Telesco decided, no, not good enough. I'm going to sign Gardner Minshew in March as insurance. And then during the quarterback battle in the offseason, you decided to go with Gardner Minshew over Aidan O'Connell. Okay, that's fine. It's your bed. You laid in it. But then now also, you make comments just 2 months later going, and it was more of a, I would be winning games right now if I had a good quarterback. But you're saying that you do have a good quarterback, and you have a starting NFL quarterback. So either you don't think Aidan O'Connell is a good starting quarterback, or you're not a good head coach. Because I don't think that you can say that Aidan is going to be a good starting quarterback in the NFL and have the season that you had with all the decisions that you've made, with the opportunities that you could have put Aidan on the field. So I'm sorry, Antonio Pierce. You calling Aidan O'Connell a starting quarterback in the NFL just makes me think that you're a bad head coach. Let's go to the final story here on today's show. Am I going to be rooting for the Raiders to beat the Chargers this Sunday? I'm Team Tank, and I've been Team Tank. But I'm not Team Tank anymore. Does not make no sense to be Team Tank. Give me 4 just win babies. Just win babies. Just win babies. Just win babies. Nothing but straight facts here on today's show. And I am going to root for the Raiders to beat the Chargers. But I'm going to root for the Raiders to beat the Chargers because if they win, picking at 8 compared to picking at 10 at this point, it doesn't freaking matter. I wanted the Raiders to have a top pick because I wanted the Raiders to have a top pick to either give them a chance to go get their quarterback in Shedeur or Cam Ward, or at least give them the opportunity to be able to trade back because I knew they had a lot of open spots. I knew they had a lot of open holes, and I wanted them to build that roster even if they wanted to be able to trade back. But the reason why I am rooting for the Raiders, because it's FLAC, baby. If the Raiders beat the Chargers are the 6th seed. And that means that they are either going to play the Baltimore Ravens or the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm just going to tell you this right now. I don't want the Chargers to be the 5 seed because I don't want them to play the Houston Texans because that means I don't have that opportunity to go live with Jeremy Chuggs to root against the Chargers. I want every opportunity that I go live. I want to be able to root against the Chargers with Chuggs, to be able to root against the Chiefs with Chuggs. And I know that's not going to happen. But if the Chargers beat the Raiders, and if the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday night lose to the Bengals, the Chargers are the 5 seed. I don't want them to be the 5 seed. If the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Bengals on Saturday and the Chargers lose, well, then it actually doesn't matter. If the Steelers beat the Bengals on Saturday, no matter what, the Chargers are the 6th seed. So it might not matter either way, but if I know that I can go into the offseason with at least a little bit of bragging rights that we beat the Chargers and we didn't get totally swept in the AFC West, guess what? I'm going to do it. And I know this playoff picture almost makes me want to throw up, but when I really think about it, and sorry, Chuggs, I want the Chargers to be that 6th seed because I think that there's a better chance that the Chargers lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers, to the Baltimore Ravens, because I'm worried right now with all the injuries that the Texans have. They're not that good of a football team, and they're not playing their best football right now. So call me crazy for wanting the Chargers to lose in the first round, and I think their best chance to lose in the first round is if the Raiders just take care of business and get a dub on Sunday. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on, and make sure you pull up Week 18, Raiders, Chargers. I'm going live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour 25 before this game gets kicked off, because I'm trying to get down for the final time in the 2024 regular season.